look at an example of modern day exile that we can connect thematically to some of the same struggles that people in the Anglo-Saxon period were having. We took a look at the seafarer last week, which is an example of exile by choice. So admittedly, that's not going to be one of the connections or correlations we'll see with the example I provide. We did look at the wanderer, which was an example of exile by force. If you recall, all his kinsmen were killed and his king, and so he has no place to call home anymore because he has none of those social bonds, and it really wreaks havoc on his mental state. And then we had the speaker of the wife's lament, who was sent by her husband to live in a cave after his family plotted against her. Again, we don't know what exactly was said, but you see the mental anguish that she experiences from that separation from community. Isolation in this case does have a detrimental effect on the mental state of the speaker of the wanderer and the wife's lament. So in order to try to connect this to a modern example, I have us taking a look at an article from USA Today that I spotted in 2015. All right, it's titled More Than a Decade After Release, They All Come Back. And so in this case, we have a study of specifically one man, but it takes a look at the effect that solitary confinement has on the mental state of those who are subjected to it and some of the complexities behind it. The piece is divided into 4 chapters and an introduction. To begin, I do want you to play this video, okay, that's embedded in it. If you click it, it'll play within the article.
One of the legacies of the harsh criminal justice policies enacted in the past 2 decades has been the widespread use of solitary confinement. Tens of thousands of offenders have been sentenced to solitary confinement during that time, prompting a number of concerns, increasing concerns, about the harmful psychological effects of subjecting people to years-long periods of isolation. Since 2002, USA Today has been tracking several offenders who have been released from solitary confinement. During that time, these offenders, including Sylvester Segovia, who is sentenced to solitary confinement here, have made good on the grim predictions of judges, prosecutors, and psychologists alike. When you got back home, you often kept to yourself. You sat by yourself often in the dark. Do you attribute that to the time that you spent by yourself in isolation?
I guess part of it is like, at that time, I was still stressed out. I mean, no, I knew I was in the world. I knew I was already out there trying to make it. And I kept on thinking to myself, trying to, I don't know what the word is, trying to motivate myself. I can do it. I can do it. And that's what I think came out of it.
Is it easier to be in administrative segregation than in general population?
It's been so long since I've been in general population, I couldn't even get close to answering that. That's even back here in SEG, it's so different now. The mentality and the outlook, all I hear is about, I'm a gangster. And, boy, that's, it's I guess like me when I was a kid, and these guys are older already, older than I was, but they think, what's the word? Immature, irresponsible, all of that.
A lot of people report problems being confined in this way. Why do you think you've adjusted to it?
Maybe it comes down, I guess, maybe to what I was talking about earlier, that maybe I just block it out. I thought about it so much I just can't come up with an answer. Maybe it's just because I don't want to let this place get to me. And I think that's the bottom line right there.
Okay.
Freedom, in many cases, is often too hard to grasp. In Sylvester Segovia's case, he has spent 20 years of his 43 years housed in solitary confinement.
Okay. So I wanted you to build in to watch that video there. What you're going to find is there are some questions for you to take a look at. I have attached this and made a copy for each student. You're going to see some comprehension questions that lead you through the article. All right, I do want you to read it. However, if you're not comfortable reading it or you just don't learn that best way, it's better if you hear it while you're reading it. I attached both I attached a read aloud for it, in which I go ahead and read the whole text to you. It's linked both just as the file itself and in YouTube. Some students are telling me they're having issues with the YouTube videos that I've made, so they are attached in both forms here. You will then, at the end of that exercise, kind of do a personal reflection here at the end, where I try to have you brainstorm other ways that the concepts of isolation and exile emerge in modern life. You know, can an exile affect other people besides those in solitary confinement? Can you think of other circumstances or situations in which that's the case? That can maybe help us think outside the box a little in terms of the relevance of literature like this, perhaps to our own understanding of ourselves and our role in society. I do have as a next step, begin thinking of examples of how the psychological effect of isolation emerges in The Wanderer and the Wife's Lament poetry. That will be tomorrow's work. Also, as homework, Unit 2 vocab exercises are going to be due this week on Thursday if you're cohort A and Friday if you're cohort B or R. Prepare now for an all multiple choice quiz. Do flashcards for extra credit if you want to. Okay, that's all for now. Bye.